Now let us go back to our adhikara of krityaha, which is of the main topic right now. Krityaha, the potential participles. And let us look at a special sutram which only applies to two verbal roots. And one of them, of course, is the most commonly used verbal root, dikrinkarne. So sutram is vibhasha kru vrishoho. Vibhasha kru vrishoho. Before going to this sutram, let us refresh our memory of this sutram, uh, which we studied in the very beginning. This adhikara of krid, a thing. The sutram was sarupostriya, which at that time itself we mentioned this is a very important paribhasha sutram, which exerts its influence right throughout the krid adhikara, and it also has some complications which we will see later. But it's account of this sutram vasarupostriyam that we have been using the affixes tavya, tavyad, aniyar, in addition to the affix either yat or kyap, or kyap over here, or nyat. One of these three. Now we can only, generally speaking, we can only use one of these affixes, nyat, kyap, or yat. Why is that? Because Anubandha lope, each of these reduce to the ya, yakara, karaha. So ya, because yat halantyam, and then tasya lopaha in kyap, dashakvatadhyate halantyam tasya lopaha, and then 31124 nyat halantyam chutu tasya lopaha. So Anubandha lope sarvatra ya pratyaya labhyate. So the pratyaya is ya, and that is samana rupaha. So this ya, of course, ya. So we cannot apply these optionally. So a verbal root can either take yat or kyap or nyat. But of course the verbal root can also take tavyar, aniyar. That is because they don't have the same form as ya. So one more time, by this sutram, this paribhasha sutram, vasarupostriyam, which we have been discussing in detail, we cannot use more than one of these affixes, yat or kyap or nyat, with a single verbal root. So only one of these may be used, because when you remove the it letters, only ya is left behind, and there's saman rupaha. So then we cannot use more than one. We can use only one. There is no optionality here. We have to use only one of them. But there are two verbal roots where, by this sutram, they are allowed to take two of these affixes. Specifically, they are allowed to take the kyap affix optionally. Okay. Now let's look at these two. Let's look at the sutram now. So basically, what we are saying is that these a verbal root could take only one of the three affixes, kyap, yat, kyap, or nyat. But now we are making an exception for these two verbal roots, vibhasha, kru, vishoho, saying that they take the affix kyap only optionally. Only optionally. In the remaining case, they will also take the affix nyat by ruhal or nyat. So this is how we are making an exception to that vasarupostriyam and allowing these two verbal roots to take two affixes, kyap as well as nyat. Let's look at the sutram now. Vibhasha kru vrishoho, the adhikara of krityaha, is a potential participle, is being prescribed now. So kyap syat. So two verbal roots, dikrinkarne, which of course we all know very well, and vrishu sechane, himsa sankleshana yoscha. The main meaning is sechane, to sprinkle, to to uh, to to, to shower, sprinkle water, sechane. Also very famous verbal root. Varsha means to rain. Varsha is rain. Optionally take the affix kyap. Note, in the other case, when the affix kyap is not taken with vibhasha, optional. when the other case, when the affix nyat is not taken, is when the affix kyap is not taken, then nyat of course will come by ruhal or nyat. Let us pause for 1 second here, and these two are not exactly in the same situation. In the absence of this sutram, vibhasha kru vrishaho, what would have happened to kru? Kru would have taken the affix nyat necessarily by ruhal or nyat, because kru ends in the rikaraha, ruvarna. So the dhatu kru would have taken the affix nyat necessarily by 31124 ruhal or nyat. Now vrish does end in a hal letter. So as a first stop, ruhal or nyat would apply, but let us not forget the sutram which we have studied a little while back, which is this one. Ridupadacha kripichitehe. Ridupadacha kripichitehe. Ridupadacha kripichitehe. Ridupadacha kripichitehe. So what the sutram says is that rikaropadacha dhatoho kya pratyaya bhavati, barring the klrup and the chrit. Ridpadhacha kriprichitehe. By this sutram, the dhatu vrish, which has a rikara as the penultimate letter, would have taken kyap necessarily. So you understand that in the absence of this sutram, this vibhasha sutram, vibhasha kru vrishoho, what would have happened is that this dhatu kru would have taken nyat necessarily by 31124 ruhal or nyat. On the other hand, dhatu vrish would have necessarily taken the affix kyap by this sutram, ridupadacha kriprichate. So now what is vibhasha is doing is that it is telling us now that this dhatu kru will take kyap optionally. So kyap was not praptaha. There was no sutram to prescribe kyap for dhatu kru. But now by this sutram 31120 vibhasha kru vrishoho, the affix kyap is being prescribed optionally. In the remaining case, of course, kru will go back to taking the affix nyat by ruhal or nyat. So the bottom line is kru will take two affixes optionally, kyap and nyat. In the case of vrish, what would have happened is that the affix kyap would be taken necessarily. But now what's going to happen is that vrish is going to take the affix kyap only optionally. So this basically tells us that this sutram over here, which is the Ridupadacha kriprichatehe, this sutram applies only optionally in the case of vrish. That's what happens. So here vrish takes the kyap affix only optionally and not necessarily by 31110. It takes kyap only optionally. So in the remaining case, it will also take the affix nyat by ruhal or nyat. So these two are not the same situation. Kru would have taken nyat necessarily, vrish would have taken kyap necessarily, and now both of them take kyap optionally and nyat in the remaining case. Okay, let's take an example here. Derivations are all very simple. If you take the dhatu kru, of course, very famous dhatu krityam and karyam. Both these forms are found in the Bhagavad Gita. It's a very famous dhatu. Comes in fact chapter 15 of Gita, right? Kritakrityascha bharata. Kritakrityascha bharata. Krityaha. So here it comes in chapter 15, last verse of chapter 15. Kritakrityascha bharata. One who has done what is to be done. So krityam is fit to be done. And karyam of course also comes in the Bhagavad Gita. So both kritya and karya come in the Bhagavad Gita. And when you chant the Gita next time, let's see, karyam comes in a lot of places. Karyate, karyam nividyate, chapter 3 and so on. It comes in a few places. So both of these comes in Bhagavad Gita. So when you chant the Gita, you can remember this sutram. Vibhasha kru vrishoho. So derivation of the form is that when you take the dhatu kru, the krin karane, Anubandha Lope by 135. Adar, so Adar Ni to Davaha. So that is the first thing to do is take the dhatu and remove the it letters. So here the first one to remove is Adar Ni to Davaha. So this do gets the it sanya, and then the ending nyakara gets the it sanya by halantyam. Both take lopa by tasya lopaha. And then when we add kyap pakshe, when you take this situation when kyap is used, then kru plus kyap anubandha lope halantyam lashakvatadite tasya lopaha. And now we get the tuk agamaha bharasvasya pitikriti tuk. The derivation here is basically the same as the derivation that we went through when we derived the form stutya. Stutya. So that was back here when we derived the form stutya, the same derivation, all the same steps. We derive the form kritya. So rasvasya piti kriti tuk, and followed by krita affix, which is a pit. A short vowel takes the augment tuk. So the same derivation over here. So what we have here is that we get the tuk agamaha adyantau takitau. It goes at the end. It goes after the rasvaha, the rakaraha. So it becomes kru tuk ya. And yes, the affix kyap is a pit affix, so therefore that allows the rasvasya piti kriti tuk to apply. And anubandha lopaha upadeshena nasika it halantyam dasya lopaha. And since the affix kyap is a kit, there is no question of applying puganta lagu patasya cha, because there is no gunadesha, because the affix kyap is a kit. So kritya gets pratipadika sanya by kritya is a samasascha. So when the kyap affix is added, we get the form kritya by the tuk agamaha by 6171. Now when you don't apply kyap abhava pakshe, then you apply the affix nyat by ru halor nyat, because kru ends in the rikaraha. Anubandha lopaha halantyam chutu tasya lopaha. And then we get the sanya of ardhadhatukam, ardhakam sheshaha. All of these kyap and nyat, they both have sanya of ardhadhatukam. All of these kritya pratyaha have sanya of ardhadhatukam. And then gunadeshaha sarvadhatuka ardhadhatukayoho uran raparaha. We get karya. Atopadhayaha, we get karya. And as we already mentioned, instead of applying these two, we could also apply acho nyiti and get the same form. So either we apply the 7384, 72116, or we can apply 72115 in one step and get the same form. Of course, uran raparaha has to be applied. So here we applied the gunadesha followed by the atopadhaya vriddhi, or we could have applied the acho niti 72115 and got the same form karya. And karya gets padvidhi sanya by kritya is a samasascha. So basically you get these two forms. Kyap pakshe, when you apply the affix kyap, we get kritya. We don't apply kyap, then we apply the affix nyat by ruhal or nyat, get the form karya. So krityam and karya. Meaning is the same. Meaning is absolutely the same. Something which is fit to be done, should be done, ought to be done, etc. Similarly, when we look at the dhatu vrish, we get the two forms vrishyam and varshyam. Vrishyam and varshyam. So that is the special sutram. For these two verbal roots, kru and vrish, they're allowed to take the kyap optionally and also nyat optionally.